Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad M.Pd. My ID number is 193200177. And now I will to explain the material on complement and internal modifier. And complement, one striking difference between nouns and verbs is that noun do not take object, and with nouns that are morphologically related to transitive verb. For example 1a, I criticize her decision, and criticize as a verb and her decision as an object. B, my criticism of her decision. Criticism as a noun and of her decision as a preposition phrase complement. And the preposition is usually of this, but if certain nouns other preposition are selected, as in this. Sandy married Pat. Married, and Sandy marriage to Pat. This. Complement in noun phrase structure are therefore virtually restricted to preposition phrase and subordinate clause. Preposition phrase complement, and dependent with the form of preposition phrase, qualify as complement when they are licensed by the particular head noun. In example A, the warriors return. They correspond to object or subject noun phrase in clause structure. The object has been illustrated in earlier example, and the warrior as a subject and written as a verb. In example B, the choice of preposition is specified by the head noun. Written as a noun of the warrior, preposition phrase complement. Subordinate clause complement. Subordinate clause may be finite or non-finite. Finite is a form of verb that contains the tense, present, or influenced by agreement with the subject, also influenced by number. For example, that he was ill, and a suspicion that it was hoax. While non-finite is the opposite of finite, and which is a form of verb that does not contain the tense, present, or past. Non-finite cannot stand alone like finite verb. Therefore, not finite can be transformed into verb that take the form of participle, gerund, infinitive. For example, her ability to complete the test, his eagerness to redeem himself. Indirect complement And we call this indirect complement because although they follow the head noun, it is not the head noun that listens to them. For example, it was too serious a problem for us to ignore. In example, it is listened it to, and by to, this time we could drop to serious without loss of grammaticality, but it would have a dramatic effect on the interpretation of the infinitive clause. A problem for us to ignore means a problem that we can or should ignore. Whereas the noun phrase in this example means a problem that was so serious that we could or should not ignore it. Internal modifier. Noun accept a very wide range of modifier within the nominal because they are inside the nominal. They are called internal modifier. Some precede the head of the noun phrase while others follow. A. Pre-head modifier. B. Post-head modifier. Pre-head modifier, for example, the more than 30 candidates again alone or with dependent are modifier when they follow a determiner rather than functioning as one themselves, as in this example. And B. Post-head modifier, for example, people fond of animals. People fond of animal adjective phrase in post-head position usually contain their own dependence, especially of head ones. The adjective phrase shown in this example would not be possible before the head noun. Combination of modifier. There is no grammatical limit to the number of modifiers that can occur within a single noun phrase. For example, a big black dog. There are preferences as to relative order, especially among pre-head modifier. A big black dog, for example, again, will be strongly preferred over a black big dog. Okay, thank you for your attention. I apologize for the limitation of this video presentation. And next, it will be continued by my partner Anas. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Anas Farudin. My student's ID number is 193-20204. I'm here to continue my friend's explanation, and we move to the new chapter, and that is external modifier. What is external modifier? External modifier is the modifier located outside the head nominal. For example, number 1, all the men. Here, all the men are quantificational expression that occur before various determiner. This is the determiner, and then this is the head nominal. So it occur, we put the determiner before the head nominal. Another example, half a day, twice a day, both her sons, right? And then Example number 2. Such a disaster. Are adjective or adjective phrase which occur as external modifier only before the indefinite article a or an. As like this. Such a disaster. We have to put the adjective before the article a or an. Another example. Too risky a venture. So difficult an assignment. So difficult an assignment. Too risky a venture. And then for the example number 3, even the children. Thus do not require the presence of a determiner. They occur, for example, with proper nouns. Alright? With proper nouns. Occur with proper nouns. Another example, even Kim and Julia herself many more. And then number 7, the fused head construction, where the head is combined or fused with dependent element, determiner or internal modifier. And there are 3 kinds of fused head. The first one, simple. Example is, Kim has a lot of friends, but Pat doesn't have any. Here, it is possible to expand the fused head noun phrase into an ordinary noun phrase with a separated head or one retrieved from the context. And then we could replace, or we can replace any by any friends, because the any here refers to friends. So the sentence will be, Kim has a lot of friends, but Pat doesn't have any friends. But we can use any too. Let's use any, it's no problem. Alright, for the example, for the form number 2, class number 2, partitive. Partitive has 2 forms, that is explicit and implicit. The example for explicit, some of my students are smart, mean the fused head followed by a partitive preposition complement, such as of my student in this example. The noun phrase some of my student in the partitive denotes a subset of the set consisting of my students, some of my students. We understand it means some students from the set of my students. So we can say some students of my students. We just can say some of my students are smart. And then move to implicit. Example is, I have 2 photos of her, but both are out of focus. Here, both is understood as both of them. It means 2 photos of her. Alright? This case is accordingly different from the simple head. Here, the head, any reference to friends, not any of them. Alright, move to the kinds number 3, special. Special here, I have example, many will disagree with you on that point. Here, many is understood as many people, but it represents a special interpretation of fused head, many people. It's not retrievable from surrounding the context or surrounding text, or even from the presence of people in the situation of utterance. Another example, I don't think much has happened while you've been away. fused head much has an inanimate or abstract interpretation. Then, fused determiner heads. Here we have determinative age, several, and this. For the example, in the simple form, they sent 6 copies, though I had ordered 8. In the partitive, they sent 20 copies, but several were damaged. And then for the special, this is infuriating. Almost all determiner can occur in this construction, but there will be an exception for some determiner. Here we have the, a, and every. The we could replace with that, a with one and every with everyone. For the example, the impact of war is more serious than the of drought. So we could replace the here with that. So the sentence will be, the impact of war is more serious than that of drought. Example for a. I need a pen, but I haven't got a. So we could replace a with one. I need a pen, but I haven't got one. And then example for every. He inspected a dozen cars, but every was defective. He inspected a dozen cars, but everyone was defective, right? And then we have also what? We have to distinguish it carefully, because there will be 2 items, the determinative what or the pronoun what. Determinative function as determiner the way other determinative do, while the pronoun function as head the way other pronouns do, but that not fused head. For the example, what course are you taking? That is here what is determinative functioning as determiner. It's not the head what. And then what do you want? Here the pronoun functioning as head but not fused head. The pronoun what is non-personal. It doesn't apply to human beings. We need personal who instead. So what is that? Apply to human beings. If you ask someone, what do you want? It means to something or things, not for human or personal or someone. And if you want to ask about someone, you could replace it with who do you want. Alright? And then the determinative what, on other hand, sometimes can be neutral. Will respect to the personal versus non-personal distinction. Example number 1, the first, it accompanies a head that doesn't denote or show a human being. But in what philosophers have you read? It accompanies a human head noun. Then notes for additional information. With what? We do not get a fused determiner head structure. What is either the determiner or the head? We can tell which by checking the possibility of human denotation. And then no. No does occur in the fused determiner head construction, but we will find the difference in inflection. For example, Kim had no money, and Pat also had none. Okay, next, fused modifier heads. Where an adjective serves as modifier and as head at the same time. For example, in the simple form, should I wear the red shirt or the blue? As we know, or as we understood, that the blue here refers to the shirt, right? And then for the partitive, the youngest of their children was still at school. The youngest member of the set consisting of their children. For the special, the friends don't take these things too seriously. Their friends here has a special interpretation. It means the friends mean the friends people in general. And then modifiers cannot use with the head as readily as determiners can. Example, Kim had hoped for a favorable review, but Pat wrote a critical. So to solve them, to prepare this sentence, we can use a noun phrase with one as the head. So the sentence will be wrote a critical one. Kim had hoped for a favorable review, but Pat wrote a critical one. The right one is here. The modifier which most readily fuse with the head, determinative. For example, there's 2, there's 4. Superlative and comparative. The best, the taller of them, the most handsome of them, the strongest of them. Ordinal, the first, the second, the third, the fourth. And then certain semantic categories of adjective color, such as the blue, the red, and nationally adjective that aren't also count nouns, such as the French, the Dutch, and the English. Compound forms, the fusion of determiner and had become a morphological fact. Every, some, any, and no have formed compound words with nouns like body, one, and thing, making words like everybody, everyone, everything. But one and body has the special meaning to denotes that is person, to special meaning person in these compounds. For example, somebody famous, nothing harmful. This we should have. There's no modifier between them. But if spirit head, some famous person, no harmful thing, we put modifier between them, and then we spirit it. And for no one is compound, although it is usually written with a space as if it were 2 words. Sometimes we written as no one, but not as none. The test just mentioned show that is a compound. No one famous Ibrahim cannot be expressed in the form no famous one showed up at the premiere. So that's all from me. Sorry if I do mistake while explain all of it. I hope this video will be useful for all of you to help you understand the material. And last say from me, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and see you next time. Bye bye.